Hey everybody, and welcome to the next edition of the Soccer Fitness Goals video blog. It's been a bit of a down week here at Soccer Fitness, and with no UEFA Champions League matches in the last 2 weeks. Today on the blog, I'm going to be discussing an article that I wrote recently, which was a rebuttal to another article on a blog that was published about a week earlier. And that article, the original one from the blog, was titled, "How Coaching Courses Killed Coaching." So first of all, I think it needs to be stated that I do not agree that coaching courses killed coaching. In my opinion, if anything killed coaching, it's a lack of knowledge. So with that out of the way, let's discuss the original article and the author that did believe that coaching courses killed coaching. So the main points that were made in this article, and we'll list them beside me here as I'm speaking to give you some context. But among the main points were, first of all, that the author who recently ran a workshop for national level coaches in New Zealand, and this wasn't just soccer, so this was coaches from many different sports, but at the national level. And in this workshop, the author surveyed the coaches and asked them, first of all, to come up with a list of the qualities that they think were most important for a coach to be successful. And among the qualities that were listed were things like compassion, creativity, sympathy, empathy, passion. So, first of all, if you're getting the hint about what type of qualities were listed, they were mostly sort of psychological, emotional, a little bit on the kind of the subjective side of coaching in terms of qualities that a coach needs. Nothing really, let's say, scientific or objective. And I'll tell you something that was just glaringly obvious that stood out to me was that nobody listed knowledge. And the next point that was made in this article, and again, we'll put it up here while I'm talking, but the next point that was made was that the coaches were asked to bring in the workbooks or any other sort of materials, course materials from their own sports national coaching schools, and then to look through those books and try to figure out in terms of the percentage of the material in them, what percentage of that material is information that is available for free on the internet. And for the most part, it looked like on average, the coaches were thinking that between 80 to 90% of the material in their national coaching workbooks is available for free on the internet. So with those 2 points being made, number one, that these national level coaches believe that things like passion, creativity, empathy, compassion, etc., that those are the most important qualities for a coach to have, and that in their national coaching books for their school, really there wasn't much information about that. There was mostly information in the books, sports science related, that is technically available for free on the internet. Then the third point that was made was, if this information is available for free and it's not really that important for coaches, according to these so-called expert coaches, then maybe the coaching courses that teach this information are a waste of time. And so this is where we get to the point of coaching courses killing coaching. And of course, for me, this is where we get to the point that this opinion that coaching courses are killing coaches, and of course, back to the other opinions that are listed, which are that the most important qualities for a coach to have are not knowledge, but other sort of random psychological subjective things, and that just because information is available for free on the internet, that it should not be taught in coaching courses. And in my opinion, those points are simply not true. So let's first just quickly discuss the idea that the most important quality for a coach to have, or qualities for a coach to have, are things like compassion, creativity, sympathy, empathy, passion, etc. So I have to say, and I have to admit that there is somewhat of a point there that those qualities, those are important, and those are really vital in order for a coach to be a good coach, to be a good communicator, to be able to really teach and help the athletes that he or she is working with and make them become better. I think if you don't have those things, especially I would say passion primarily, if you don't have passion as a coach, then you're not likely to be a successful coach. But that being said, passion should never be considered as the most important quality. And I'll give you just a quick example that explains this. Knowledge of the subject matter that you are presenting must be the most important quality for a coach to have. Just imagine, and maybe some of you that have played or coached, etc., maybe you know someone like this. I certainly have, in my time, in my career as a coach and a fitness coach, I've worked with people like this, and I've coached against people like this in the past too. People who are passionate, extremely passionate, and have a good personality. They're good talkers. They're very much dedicated to the work that they're doing, but they don't have knowledge. And these types of coaches, they're plentiful, unfortunately, in Canada, that lack sufficient knowledge. And what you end up getting from these types of coaches is you end up getting a lot of random jargon or untrue information being disseminated to the players. So as just a simple example, think of how many times you've been in a game, coaching in a game, playing, etc., and you hear a coach on the sidelines yelling things like, "Get in the game. What are you doing? Pick up the pace." Those kind of random, you can call them passionate type of moments or sort of advice that's driven by passion, but it's random, it's ambiguous, it's vague, it's laden with jargon. It doesn't really help to communicate a specific message to a player that's going to help them to perform better. And that's just in games. The same type of thing happens in practice. Without knowledge, as a coach, passion is useless. You need to make sure as a coach that you have knowledge, really, really high level, sufficient knowledge of the subject matter that you're going to be teaching to your players. If not, you cannot be a good coach. You cannot be a good teacher. The way it works is your passion that you have will drive your acquisition of knowledge. So if you're not passionate, it's probably likely that you're not going to be very knowledgeable because you're not going to really be motivated to go ahead and educate yourself. But if you're passionate and you don't have knowledge, then what you need is you need your passion to drive you to acquire knowledge. And eventually then that combination of passion and knowledge will make you into a good, successful coach. So now, with regards to the second point, and that is that all of this sports science information, and again, in the article, the author lists everything from physiology, biomechanics, motor learning, periodization, sports psychology. Very important things for a coach to know. But the point is made that all of this information about all of these topics is available for free on the internet. And so coaches who wish to learn about these things, all they need to do is go online, go on Google, Wikipedia, etc., and go ahead and start reading this free information, and eventually they should be able to develop their expertise without taking courses and without learning this subject matter by taking courses. And again, this is just simply not true. In an ideal world, potentially, it is possible that people can learn this material, but just think about it logically. Think about the difference between a coach taking a course where they're forced to learn about these subjects, where they're forced to study them, to demonstrate their competence in terms of their knowledge by taking an exam or multiple exams or practical exams. They're forced to write an essay or some type of a writing project where they're actually having to communicate in written form about the topic. Maybe they may have to do an oral presentation, etc. Think of the difference in terms of the acquisition of knowledge in that type of environment where you're hearing about things from an expert, where you're having group discussions, where you're going off and completing your own independent projects, and where you're studying for an exam that has a definite timeline, versus just the fact that you can say, well, okay, this information is available for me for free and I can go and access it at any time. I can say from my personal experience, I've been a lifelong student of soccer and sports science, still am, in the middle of completing my PhD right now. And in the last few years, I've been doing a lot of work as a coach educator. And incidentally, the courses that I teach revolve around sports science, the soccer fitness trainers course. And again, if we operated under the assumption that everybody who took my course, again, they've all got access to this information for free, first of all, why would they ever even want to take my course? And we've had over 100 coaches in Ontario, and actually not just Ontario, some other provinces as well, that have been certified through my course as a soccer fitness trainer. So we've had all these coaches that have access to the information for free, yet they still want to take the course. Now, why is that? That's because coaches who really recognize and understand the importance of this material, of sports science, they also recognize the fact that even though the information is available for free, they are not going to learn and acquire this knowledge simply just by going online. It is better, it is more effective, it is the best way to learn by taking and presenting this information in coaching courses. So to wrap it up, the author goes into, again, a very subjective opinion, which is that it looks like all of the passion, all of the creativity, all of the compassion and empathy and everything else is being sucked out of coaching because of the fact that there's too much of an emphasis in coaching courses on sports science. And again, I have to vehemently disagree with that point. And the reason is, first of all, I don't really see that passion is being sucked out of coaching. I think, if anything, there's a lot of coaches that just simply don't recognize that they need to learn about sports science. And that has to do with coaches not being humble enough. And imagine if you have a coach that's not humble, that thinks that they don't need to know about this stuff, what kind of an attitude and personality is that coach going to have? And how is that going to trickle down to their players? Are their players also going to be the type of know-it-all, the type that think that they don't need to work on anything because they already know everything? And is that really what we want out of coaches? Do we want coaches that just think that just because they're passionate, just because they have a good personality and they're able to relate to their players and everything else, that then they don't need knowledge? It makes no sense. I can't imagine in soccer, in my sport, I can't imagine any national coaching school in any of the top countries. You want to look at some of the countries that are regarded as the best in terms of their coach education: Germany, Spain, Argentina, Italy. Even though Italy didn't qualify for the World Cup, their coaching schools are very highly regarded. Imagine these countries taking that type of approach and saying, you know what, it's not important for our coaches, the ones that are going to be working with our top young players, to have knowledge about sports science. You just can't get around this fact. There's no way that they would do that, because they know and they recognize that coaches who are working with young players, they're planning training, which means they're planning exercise. And in order to plan exercise, you need to know sports science. Incidentally, part of sports science is also sports psychology, which means you need to understand sports psychology. You can't just think that you're an expert because you have passion. Remember that passion without knowledge is useless, and it's going to lead to wrong information being presented to players. If coaches are not enjoying coaching courses, first of all, I think they need to be more humble. They need to be less egotistical. They need to look at themselves and say, you know what, these are my deficiencies in knowledge, and even if I don't really enjoy learning about them, I need to make an effort to learn. And then we might need to look at the coach educators, because again, if coach educators are knowledgeable, that's great. But maybe those educators aren't passionate enough. And maybe if they're not passionate enough, then that passion for the subject matter just doesn't translate into the way that they teach. And they teach in a manner that's too robotic, that's too boring. So I think the problem is not that the coaching courses should not have sports science material in them. They need to have them. Coaches need that knowledge. The problem is coaches that take the courses need to be more humble, and coach educators are the ones that need to be more passionate. The best coaching courses, and I can speak from my own experience having taken courses here in Canada, in the United States, all the way up to my A license in the United States, and having been, again, a lifelong student and still studying right now, and attending sports science conferences related to soccer all around the world for over 10 years, that the best courses and the best conferences and the best lectures are always given by instructors who have a combination of knowledge and passion. That is what we need to strive for in coach education, and that is what coaches in soccer need to strive for. Combination of knowledge and passion. Now, I mentioned my article, which was written on our Soccer Fitness Goals blog, and it was a rebuttal to the original article. And my article was titled, "Coaching Courses Did Not Kill Coaching, Lack of Knowledge Killed Coaching." And we'll put the link underneath me right now if you'd like to read that article if you haven't already done so. That does it for the Soccer Fitness Goals video blog for this week. If you haven't already done so, please remember to like the video and subscribe to our channel. You can do so by clicking the link underneath me now. If you'd like to download the world's only customized, soccer-specific, at-home mobile fitness app, which gives you a soccer-specific workout that you can do at home at any time and for any age and level of ability, you can download the Soccer Fitness Goals mobile fitness app by clicking the link underneath me now. We'll see you next week on the blog, and until then, keep reaching your soccer fitness goals.